thank Springfield College for this opportunity to be here. Very important time of the year. Dr. Raalte and, of course, Dr. Pettipaw and Dr. McAllister are responsible for my being here. He is my longtime mentor and friend from, I won't go back to how many years to age myself, but I consider myself one of his mentees. And a person that hopefully has made him proud throughout all these years. So I'm so excited and appreciative for this opportunity to talk on a topic that's really near and dear to me, important to me, and some insight that hopefully I can share with you as a part of your celebration that will be useful to you, and that's something that you can utilize. It's great to be back on a college campus. I spent the last 15 years at the NBA in player development. Actually, the last 3 years I started my own consulting business, Hilliard Solutions. So I haven't been on a college campus in a few years, but I've had the opportunity to do a lot of guest lectures. And this is actually home for me. This is the place where I feel the most comfortable. I love being around students, so it's especially important to me to thank you for this opportunity to be here. So hopefully we'll have a good time and you'll learn some things and maybe think about some things that you haven't thought about in the past. So I will just get started here. So one of the things that you guys know, often it's said that sports is a reflection of society. And you may or may not believe that to be true. I certainly believe that to be true. And while there might be some debate back and forth about whether or not athletes are role models, that conversation goes on in a lot of circles, in a lot of areas as well. But I, for one, think that they are, given the kind of impact that athletes have had in all of our major institutions, in education, politics, government, in our economy. So I think that there are some very influential people and people that have some messages as leaders, I think, that are transformative and that are applicable to everyone. Sports has produced, in fact, and continues to produce some of the greatest leaders of our time. Men and women who have not only made significant contributions to their sport, but also to society. And athlete leaders, I think, continue to be at the front of a lot of the social justice and social responsibility issues and movements in this country. And a part of what I would like to do tonight is to share some of those experiences and make those connections between the impact that they have on society. Well, do you think that leaders are born or are they made? This is also a frequent conversation that goes on in various circles. And over the last 25 years or so, I've had the opportunity to work in not only education and in sports, but to also have an opportunity to witness athletes who have been, as you would say, born leaders, having the attributes and skills, and others who have developed it. And myself being an example of sort of a combination of the two. Again, my belief is that they are both possible, born and also learn how to become leaders. My foundation for leadership began actually when I was a high school girls basketball player. I was a 9th grader who made the varsity team, and I learned the art and science of leadership and what it meant to be a leader. I learned from my coaches and my teammates how to respect the game, but I also had to I had to have a willingness to be coached and a desire to accomplish a common goal. These are marks of leaders. That experience served me well when I earned a full scholarship to the University of Houston, where I would play 5-on-5 basketball for the first time. That's right, for the young people in the room. When I was growing up, basketball for girls was a half-court game. There were 3 guards and 3 forwards. The forwards shot the ball, the guards did not, and you could not pass half court. So growing up in a small town in Texas and playing 6-on-6 basketball, either you were a forward or you were a guard. If you were a guard, you did not shoot the ball. Fortunately for me, I had the opportunity to play both forward and guard, which actually created a situation for me to be in a great position when I got to college to play 5-on-5 basketball. So that was interesting, learning how to negotiate with my teammates who were sometimes a little bit jealous because I was able to play on both sides of the court. I was blessed with the talent and the opportunity throughout high school to develop my skill set as a leader, but also my ability to be a teammate. And not only did I learn from playing the game, I learned from the coaches and the teammates who taught me about discipline, about setting goals, about setting the example for others, and what being a leader was all about. And from those experiences, I acquired the knowledge, the skills, and the attributes that would contribute to me becoming a successful leader in sports many years later. So what is leadership? Leadership is really important, and as I've watched elite athletes over the years and others that I've worked with before, I've framed my perception of leadership based on 6 skills, qualities, attributes that I would like to share with you. The first is confidence. Leaders exhibit great confidence. No matter what obstacle or no matter what situation, they believe they're going to master the situation. Basketball players, for example, can be down 20 points in a game with 5 minutes left and still believe, no, in fact, still know that they're going to win the game. And why is that? Because they have the confidence, they have an unwavering belief in themselves, and they know their ability when no one else does. And confidence is extremely important in any leadership position. Second is relatability, excuse me. Leaders can connect with their teammates, they can relate to them because they know the task, they've been there, they've done it before, they've done the work, and they can be genuine in terms of their demonstration as an example to others. Whether that be in corporate America or whether that be on a basketball team, you have to be able to relate to and connect with your teammates, with your followers, with your other employees. Execution and accountability. Leaders have to not only be able to formulate a game plan, they have to be able to execute it and hold each other accountable. And this is extremely important because accountability means a certain amount of not only respect, but it means also commitment to a particular cause. Leaders know how to hold people accountable, but they also know how to give and receive criticism without destroying the team culture or without destroying the team chemistry. Very important. Fourth is resilience. Leaders know how to handle defeat. They know how to regroup and start over. They understand that losing builds character, builds endurance, builds mental strength. They help teammates deal with the pressures and the emotions that come with negativism and with poor performance when they don't do well. Leaders are effective communicators, which is a given, verbally, but also by example. They're skilled at motivating other people and getting the team to accomplish its highest goal while also recognizing individual talents. And if you've worked with elite athletes, you know that it's a difficult thing when you have a number of them on one team and you're trying to get everybody to accomplish one particular goal. But leaders are able to do that because they know the type of feedback that they give and they know how to give that feedback to be successful. And sixth, and probably most important quality, at least to me, is integrity. In order to be a true leader, you must be a person of integrity. And that means that your values are important to you, no matter what you do and what you're doing. Old folks used to say that integrity means having respect and doing the right thing every time, even when it's difficult and even when it's not popular. So as you think about leadership in your lives, as you think about whether you're an athlete, faculty member, or in corporate America, and look at the society that we're in today, integrity, I think, is the most important thing. It may be the most difficult thing in this day and time to maintain, believe it or not, because the world is so different of a world now than what we grew up in. So where did we come from as athletes and leaders? Well, I grew up in the 1960s, and I drew my inspiration from athlete leaders who were making a difference not only in their sport, but also in society. These individuals influenced my attitude towards education. They motivated me to excel in sports, and they expanded my knowledge of how sports could change people's lives and how it could change the world. I grew up during the Civil Rights Movement, Vietnam, the 1968 Olympics, Title IX, Watergate, and when Billie Jean King defeated Bobby Riggs. Remember that? I watched history being made by athletes who were not only great at what they did in their sport, but were also leaders and gave their voices in the fight against discrimination, against inequality, fighting for access, for respect, and for dignity. Athletes like Jim Brown, Bill Russell, Muhammad Ali, Billie Jean King, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton, Martina Navratilova, and Arthur Ashe. These great athletes stood on the backs and the shoulders of people like Fritz Pollard, Paul Robeson, Jesse Owens, Wilma Rudolph, Jackie Robinson, and Althea Gibson. And while these great leaders epitomized leadership and set the trajectory for my career in sports and for so many others, they provided for me a template of what leadership should look like, which is more than outstanding physical performance, but intelligence guided by a united spirit and purpose. They understood that what they were doing was about more than just for themselves, their own success. It was for the success of the sport, but it was also for the success of a nation and ultimately the world. They recognized that their movement, that their time in history was very important. And that's what leaders do. They embrace their moment in time. The next generation of sports leaders would continue to create the legacies in and away from sports that would help bring attention to society's ills, including health, equal rights for working women, education, fair compensation, racial injustices. Through their leadership and through their experiences, they realized the power of their position and their influence. I watched Magic Johnson. I watched his press conference in 1992 as I was an intern at the NCAA, where he revealed that he had contracted the HIV virus. I watched how the NBA, society, the world, and the medical community embraced him, and the impact that his revelation had on other people who had the disease, who had the illness. I watched how his situation helped to destigmatize the illness, how it educated others, and how it transformed the way that we viewed HIV, and the opportunities that it provided to increase research and funding to treat it. Magic became a spokesperson, as you know, an advocate, an educator, and motivated others with the virus to come forth and receive treatment. His participation in the 1992 Olympics would further broaden our knowledge of this illness and educate others around the world. After Title IX, the stage was set for female athletes and for the rise of their stature in society. People like Ann Myers and Nancy Lieberman Klein, Cheryl Miller blazed trails in basketball, my sport, breaking down the barriers that would later open the door for other women, athletes and non-athletes, to become coaches, sports leaders, entrepreneurs, and business women. Their success fueled the establishment of the first women's professional sports leagues, the American Basketball Association, the ABL, you remember that? The National Women's Soccer League, the NWSL, and the Women's National Basketball Association, the WNBA, which raised the visibility of the female athlete in society and connected them with other women's struggles that were happening during the same period of time. Cheryl Swoops was the first high-profile female athlete who came out while starring in the WNBA. Her announcement occurred around the same time as the popular TV show host Ellen DeGeneres' announcement also came out. Shortly after, other female professional athletes and entertainers began to come out. David Robinson, after retiring from the NBA with multiple championships and honors, would build the Carver Academy in my home state, Texas, which is now a private charter school for grades K through 12 for lower income children, creating a new model of education for inner city youth. On the collegiate stage, around this period of time, former UCLA men's basketball player Ed O'Bannon challenged the NCAA's amateurism rules. This litigation would become a forerunner to the Northwestern football team, creating the College Athletes Players Association Union. You remember that? To pursue the rights of college players to be paid for their sports participation. These actions would later force the NCAA to provide a form of compensation called cost of attendance to student athletes to assist with some of their basic needs. This came after the University of Connecticut's championship, in which their star basketball player, Shabazz Napier, stated on national TV that athletes were often hungry and had to go to bed hungry. Immediately after, the NCAA instituted the cost of attendance. During this period of time, the University of Missouri's football team protested and staged a sit-out over racially charged incidents on their campus involving not only student athletes, but students of color. They demanded and ultimately achieved the resignation of the president of the university. So where are we in society as we look at social justice and some of the efforts that have been led by athlete leaders? They continue to blaze the trail, continue to make impact in our communities, continue to connect with social issues, begin to lend their voices and support others who are also trying to make a difference in the areas of addressing racism, police brutality, violence against women, equal pay, and media stereotyping of athletes. They have embraced the opportunity to become change agents. The Los Angeles Clippers players challenged the negative and the demeaning racial comments about blacks from their owner, Donald Sterling. And the NBA swiftly responded and forced him to sell the team. NBA and WNBA players spoke out against police brutality of people of color. During the ESPYs, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony, and Chris Paul spoke out about the senseless killings of police officers and called for a united front to end the violence. Also at the ESPYs, you'll remember the Michigan State University, my alma mater's, gymnastics team also spoke out and stood proudly to take back their dignity and call for the respect of not only women athletes, but all women as it relates to their bodies and their treatment. These were powerful societal statements that these athletes were making that have impacted our world. And we all know about Colin Kaepernick, then the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, who kneeled before a football game in 2016 and started a firestorm around the nation to protest police brutality against people of color. The USA women's national soccer team is in the process of suing its federation over equal pay. The WNBA is engaged in conversations regarding better pay and working conditions, and recently engaged a board of advisors to assist with their upcoming labor relations to make sure that they are represented fairly and appropriately. Serena Williams and other women athletes and tennis players have also taken on the fight for equal pay and fair treatment, and for moms in the workplace, particularly Serena, after losing her national ranking after giving birth. National attention. So not only have athletes led in the area of social justice, they've also led and they're leading in the area of social responsibility. And as athletes begin to engage in social justice and social responsibility activities, they are embracing these responsibilities, and they're putting their money and their resources where their mouths are. When Colin Kaepernick was not being picked up by an NFL team, he was handing out free suits out of a parole office in New York City in an effort to reduce recidivism rates by working with formerly incarcerated individuals homeless individuals, gang members, and survivors of domestic violence to provide them with attire to wear during interviews. While LeBron James was being criticized and told to shut up and dribble, he was promoting his promised school in Cleveland to better prepare inner city youth for college. When Megan Rapinoe, captain of the United States national women's soccer team, was being criticized for not going to the White House after their Olympic gold medal, she was busy accepting meetings with White House politicians and government leaders regarding issues of equality and equal opportunities for women. Well, not only have athletes become leaders in social justice and social responsibility activities, they have inspired the organizations that they work for and that they represent as well. The NBA pulled out of the 2017 All-Star Game in North Carolina due to the state's controversial all-LGBTQ legislation. Remember that? The NCAA and the ACC, Atlantic Coast Conference, followed soon after pulling out their championships in the state. Nike supported Colin Kaepernick with the slogan, "Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing nothing." And this wasn't the first time, obviously, that Nike has been involved in social justice issues and supporting athletes. But certainly when you have a brand of that stature supporting them and societal causes, it raises the attention to another level. Professional sports leagues and the major college institutions have responded to the voices of its athletes, professional and college, and requiring that teams provide mental health and mental wellness programs, resources, and support to those athletes to support them in their efforts as athletes and the pressures and stresses that they deal with on a daily basis. This is probably the hottest topic in sports right now, as well as in society. For a long time, we have called for assistance for people with mental illnesses and mental health challenges that could not afford it, and athletes are at the front of this charge. Well, where are we going in terms of athletes and leadership? This evolution of athlete leadership, social justice, and social responsibility has inspired athletes, in my opinion, to increase their focus on their own education and their own professional development and their own career development, and to unleash the economic power that they know that they now hold. Professional athletes from several sports, including basketball, tennis, and soccer, participate in Harvard Business School's crossover into business program. This is a semester-long experience that helps them to develop their business acumen by working with MBA student mentors. Former professional football player Myron Raalte, who is a Rhodes Scholar, recently graduated from medical school and is now a neurosurgeon. How about that? A football player, a Rhodes Scholar, a neurosurgeon. Let's hope he's working on professions. Former NBA players Jerry Stackhouse, Juwan Howard, and George Lynch finished their degrees and after successful careers in the NBA are head coaches at Vanderbilt University, the University of Michigan, and Clark Atlanta University. Andre Iguodala, who you know is a recent member of the Golden State Warriors, recently released his first book called The Sixth Man, where he writes about his leadership experiences while playing in the NBA and how they've helped him to become successful in business and how he is mentoring other athletes across different sports. Several WNBA players, former WNBA players, including Becky Hammon, Kara Lawson, Swin Cash, Allison Feaster, Tamika Catchings, hold prominent coaching positions at the professional level and front office positions as women continue to build and lead the way in professional sports. Let's hope the colleges catch up soon. So while athletes continue to advance their education and pursue career opportunities, professional development, sports leagues, and unions, they all have begun to understand from a business perspective, from my students that are in here, the importance of social responsibility and to back and support their athletes because it's good business. It's good business sense. They've bolstered their investment, these sports leagues, unions, college institutions, in professional development programs for their athletes to to enhance their experiences and to help better prepare them for life after their sports. Most professional organizations sponsor some type of apprentice program, and internship programs, and educational experiences for their athletes to help them to identify their careers of interest, to connect with influential leaders, sponsors in the community and in business, where they can learn and be prepared for their next career as leaders. Similar to the professional leagues, the NCAA also provides professional development opportunities for its students and student athletes through various leadership programs, including the Emerging Leaders Seminar. But perhaps the most significant outcome of athlete leadership today is the growing impact that it has had and continues to have on other athletes. And that is exciting to me. In a recent Sports Illustrated interview with the Los Angeles Lakers' Anthony Davis, Davis said that, and I quote, "Obviously, those guys," and he's referring to Dwayne Wade, Derrick Rose, and Isaiah Thomas, who grew up in Chicago, "obviously, these are guys that I've looked up to from a basketball standpoint, and those guys are legends in Chicago forever. Anytime you see the ones before you do great things on and off the floor, you get to see the bits and pieces that you can take from these guys and also how you can do it yourself as well. I just always check to see how they're doing, how they move, how they do things in a certain way. But especially all of us being from Chicago and from the same background, and for me trying to figure out how I can go down the same path." The future. What's ahead? What will it look like in terms of leadership for our athletes at all levels? What does it mean in terms of their impact on society? To me, it's increased business ownership, it's entrepreneurship, and it's the rise of women female executives in sports. That's what I see in the future. Leadership, we talk about it a lot, and there's a lot of different definitions. But as it relates to athletes, there are particular attributes that they have and develop that are especially helpful to them in these three areas going forward. So leadership is really, it's an important human capital that athletes possess because it's directly related to their ability to be successful business owners and entrepreneurs. Leadership capabilities are relevant to sponsorship activities that increase ticket sales, that sell products, and services to a company. So it's all related. It's sort of in their DNA. Leadership capital involves connecting athletes with influence, with their abilities to resources that can impact not only their lives, but the lives of their communities and to a larger society. They can act as trusted communication sources between the companies that they represent and the people who trust them and adore them. This is a lot of power that they are beginning to realize. This type of power allows them to focus on their potential entrepreneurial and business opportunities. And we are seeing that happening in front of our faces. Athletes have the influence as leaders because they are adored by their fans. They're the best in the world at what they do. And they are marketed by their representatives, organizations, and companies, and are socially engaged and relatable to their audiences. Athletes recognize the platform that they have now more than ever, and they are becoming more and more equipped to take advantage of this. But this is not totally new. You know, there were early successful entrepreneurs, including Greg Norman, Great White Shark Enterprises, remember that? George Foreman, the George Foreman Grills. Michael Jordan, of course, perhaps the most notable name, entrepreneur along with Phil Knight at Nike, who created the Jordan brand, which is now estimated at $1.9 billion. Then, of course, there's Magic. Magic Johnson Enterprises. He has an investment company that really focuses on the community and empowerment. He's also into entertainment and some other areas. But there's other athletes, former and present, that are notable that you're probably aware of. But how many of you guys remember Hakeem Olajuwon's first shoe, his first sneaker? That remember he sold at a discounted rate so that urban inner city kids could wear it? Fortunately, it didn't last very long. Stephon Marbury tried the same thing. Tried to create a shoe that inner city kids could afford, but of course they got run out of the market. know about David Beckham, who has a number of businesses, including clothing endorsements. Serena Williams, we talked about her, has not only her own nail polish, but has business relationships and ventures all over. Danica Patrick owns a vineyard. Did you know that? Okay. A clothing line, a health and fitness book that she just released. Maria Sharapova is one of my favorite, because she's a spokesperson for GoDaddy. That's one of my favorites. Oscar De La Hoya, did you know about him? Formed his own boxing promotional company years ago, Golden Boy Promotions, and is also very heavily involved in the community. John Elway, you know about, owns dealerships, one of the old heads. A-Rod, who is basically involved with sports and using his acumen in baseball to lead the teams down in Florida. And of course, LeBron James. He's built a net worth of more than $450 million. His goal is to become a billionaire. His money comes from endorsements, investments, ownerships, media, and entertainment. His foundation, I mean, you name it. He really is a unique person. I'm sure that you guys would agree. The widespread growth of the internet, communications, and social media have allowed athletes, famous and not so famous ones, to market themselves individually and internationally as celebrities and also as media stars. LeBron James has more followers on Instagram, 89 million, than the NBA. He has 39 million. And he has more social media followers than every NFL, Major League Baseball, and NHL All-Star starters combined. He also has more than twice as many followers as the next closest NBA All-Star, which is who do you think? Steph Curry. Steph Curry. So, in summary, as we think about this new generation of athletes and leaders, can't help but see how they have embraced the significance of their importance and their relationship to not only their sport because of their physical prowess, but because of their minds and the intelligence that they have embraced, but also because of their spirit. And the spirit within a person which really motivates you to be who you are and to do what you do. Your body, your mind, your spirit all work together, no matter who you are. And how beautifully it's displayed in something that we call leadership. How beautifully it's shown in something called sports, which is such an important part of our community and a part of our society. So yes, in the future, I envision entrepreneurship, business ownership, women leaders in sports to the next level, but I also envision college athletes following along in the footsteps of the professionals. And we have seen that throughout the years. And I see that happening by way of the famous Fair Pay to Play Act. If you are familiar with that, the governor in California signed the bill on LeBron James' show a few months ago, and everybody is ecstatic and trying to figure out how the Fair Pay to Play Act is going to play out. It will truly revolutionize college sports because these athletes now will have the opportunity to be compensated for their name, likeness, and image. So the system and the structure that we knew before, it's gone forever. And I project that we will matriculate down to the high school and create a firestorm there as well. So what does it mean in terms of leadership? What does it mean in terms of entrepreneurship? You know, I saw some research recently on Generation Z. And the research on Generation Z is saying that 76%, and that's the generation that's entering college now, that are freshmen. And 76% of the research said that high school students now want to be entrepreneurs when they leave high school. So there are some implications for us here in the academy. What does it mean as far as athletes' education and preparation, which is exciting for me because that's the part of work that I've been involved in all my career in terms of educating, developing, and preparing athletes. I've watched this evolution, and the approaches to educating our student athletes will need to change as well. We will need to revisit the curriculum. What kinds of courses and topics, we just talked about this in a previous meeting, will they need information? not only financial education, but entrepreneurship, negotiations, conflict management. How do you deal with contracts? How do you deal with legal issues, representation, image, and branding? So how we educate them and prepare them, no matter what sport, if it's football, volleyball, field hockey, the model will need to change. It will need to change. The model will also need to change for folks who work with athletes. Part of what I do is career coaching in my business, as well as work with colleges and universities and train people who work with athletes. That will need to change as well, because they're at a different place now. I think in our previous conversation, they being athletes, we have to ask ourselves, what is our value to them? Obviously, it's always to educate them, prepare them. But today's generation is interested in entrepreneurship. You have to be educated in a business sense. You still need those interpersonal communication skills, but the thinking is not in a traditional way, and it's reflective of the society that we live in. So athletes, in closing, have long been change agents. They have long been leaders. They have demonstrated, as I said before, physically their talents. They've exercised their mind. They've embraced their spirit. But I can't help but smile and be excited and thankful that I've had a part of seeing not only a generation before me of athletes that impacted me in my career in sports as a professional, but also the impact that it's had on the world and others around me. I can't help but think about when I see Megan Rapinoe and Serena Williams. I think about Billie Jean King and Martina Navratilova. I can't help but when I think about and see Colin Kaepernick and Maya Moore, I think about Bill Russell and Jim Brown. And when I think about LBJ, I think about Magic Johnson. So it's exciting to have the opportunity to share some of these thoughts with you during a very special time on your campus. I really have appreciated the opportunity to talk about sports, leadership, a little bit about my experience, because this life that I've lived has shaped who I am. The success that I've had and the joy that I have in giving back to other students and having the opportunity to share this with others. I believe in the power of sports. I grew up, like I said, being mentored by people like Al Pettipaw and others who supported my growth and development. And athletics was the basis, along with my family, for